So, one thing I've noticed happening since the Epstein files first started being released is this big push, kind of behind the scenes, but there's plenty of evidence happening in front of our faces. This big push to get people to get off of social media. And why do you imagine that would happen? Well, from how I'm looking at it, it would happen because that's the only place where people seem to be talking about the Epstein files is on social media. Because if you go to mainstream media, you might see a mention of it several pages down, but they're not really saying anything about the content. So pretty much all of the information is coming out on social media. And when it comes to how they're trying to convince people to get off social media, from what I'm seeing, it's by convincing people that social media is dangerous somehow, starting with the idea that it's dangerous for children. Now, I'm not going to debate that it's not dangerous for children, but it's kind of curious that for so long, our government and our news media and Israel didn't have any problem with children and other people being on social media. It was perfectly fine despite the dangers. But now that the Epstein files were being released, all of a sudden, having a phone and being on social media is something they want kids to get away from until they're a certain age. And that's not entirely bad if that was the actual reason they were doing it. But the result of this push is that now social media apps are asking for identifying information, supposedly to verify our age, and asking for things like phone number or facial recognition or other identifying information in our current political system is intimidating. Because if you have an administration that's openly stating that they're going to go after people with incorrect ideology and a number of other reasons, as well as actually sending a police force out to detain people without any warrants or any reason that they have to give for detaining people, then yeah, the idea of having freedom of speech on social media and providing your identifying information can be somewhat frightening and intimidating. And so, the whole idea that they decided to do this when the Epstein files were being released kind of seems suspect. Because the result of so many people going away from social media is that where do they go from that point? Other than to the mainstream media and mainstream anything really. Which what is that? Other than an alternate reality. A reality where our government isn't farming us for our children. Reality where they paint this rosy picture. A rosy picture where we can trust our government and the people in leadership positions and the system and trust them to not be doing things like taking children and raping and torturing and eating them like we're finding out in the Epstein files. So yeah, there's plenty of dangers to being on social media. But what is the danger of not being on social media? And that's going to be that somebody that doesn't know that we can't trust any of these people. What are they? Other than sitting ducks.